How is everybody doing tonight? Week 5 of Clayton's season of The Bachelor. Before we get started, I want to know, who are you rooting for this season? I know I've kind of had trouble really picking who I was rooting for. After tonight's episode, I think I might have somebody picked out, but this season has kind of been a struggle so far, and, kind of been overshadowed by petty drama. And the rest of the season seems like it's going to be filled with drama. So I don't know what we're going to get from the remainder of the season, but I just get the feeling it's not going to be a happy ending for Clayton. Anyways, that said, let's get into tonight's episode. First off, we started with a one-on-one date. This was kind of a leftover from last week. We didn't get to Serene's one-on-one, and this probably wasn't the date of the season. Like, I was getting bored watching this date. I don't know about anybody else. I don't feel the connection here between these two. And like, probably the most excited I got for the entire date was they were at the amusement park going on the swinging boat ride, and I was having flashbacks to one of the grossest moments of my entire life, where in high school, got on one of those rides. The ride started, and I immediately got an out of control nosebleed, just bleeding everywhere. And I'm trying to stop all the blood, and just gross. And the ride finally ends, and the attendant's just there with some Kleenex for me. And like, I don't know how bad I looked, but how horrified that attendant looked wasn't great. Anyways, I don't know what that had to do with the date, but the date to me was so boring. I was having flashbacks to my life. I really just don't, like, I don't think Serene likes him. Like, the way that she looks at him, her body language doesn't read to me as someone who's overly interested in someone else. I don't know if anybody else was getting that from this date, but just had that feel. At one point when we got to the dinner portion of the date, Clayton looks at Serene, and with zero emotion, he says, "We had a thrilling day." And I was like, what is this? Like, absolute deadpan. I don't even think Clayton was believing the words that were coming out of his mouth. And then we cut to the portion of every one-on-one where the show tries to make you think that sharing something traumatic from your past is the same as falling in love. And we see that over and over and over. And it's on this show considered being vulnerable and opening up. And that's not love. That's not falling in love. You should feel comfortable opening up and sharing with the person you care about. But having gone through something terrible in your past doesn't guarantee that sharing that with someone makes you fall in love. And the contestants on this show are forced to do that. Serene is basically put in a situation she has to share something terrible about herself, or that something terrible that happened to her, because that is the expectation that this show places on its contestants. And I would really like it if we moved beyond that. Now, as our couples get more serious, and there are things lingering from people's past, maybe it's necessary that those get told, so that everybody knows, what's in store for them in life. Like, talk about Gabby and talking about her relationship with her mom. That is something that they will have to deal with if they're a couple on the outside. And you know, I just have such a different feeling about that. Anyways, Serene gets a rose, and let's move on. From here, we jump to the cocktail party, which starts with Clayton pulling aside the ladies from the winning team of last week's group date to talk about Shanae. And I appreciated hearing the women not really pulling too many punches when it came to Shanae, saying exactly what happened, exactly what she did, and Clayton still not really caring, really still not hearing anybody. You know, one thing that's been repeated over and over this season is wanting to make people feel seen and heard. Clayton, you haven't been hearing these women, and the whole Shanae drama and how long it has lingered is proof of that. Now, I appreciate Clayton, you know, putting out some apologies and explanations of sorts on Instagram. I believe it was on Instagram, maybe it was on Twitter. During the course of the season, basically saying if he had known everything that had been going on with Shanae, he would have sent her home sooner. And I very much appreciate Clayton saying that. But in these moments, you can tell that he's not hearing what he wants to hear, so he's not hearing it completely. And that's tough to see because, you know, you want to see love, you want to see happiness on these shows, not just people manipulating other people to get what they want to stay on TV a little bit longer, which is very clear. All Shanae wants is to be on this show as long as she can to get as much fame as she can from the show. Even with how horrible she's been, I guarantee that she's gained tens of thousands of followers since this show began airing. And I mean, that's her goal, so she's winning. And, you know, we leave this situation, and Clayton's looking like a sucker again with Shanae. Shanae's laughing in the diary room, bragging about her performance when she's only apologizing because she got caught and told she had to apologize. You know, there's no authenticity in that. There's nothing real about those moments with Shanae, and Clayton right now buying them hook, line, and sinker. Anyways, we did have a rose ceremony. Jill, Sierra, and Lindsay go home. I was a little bit surprised to see Sierra go. I thought there was a little bit of a connection there, but I guess I was wrong. I thought there was other women who we just like have barely even seen Clayton talk with, like Hunter. Like, I honestly had forgot her name before it popped up on the screen today. And, you know, we're deep enough into the season that we should know all the women's names. Heading to Toronto. Wow, what destinations we've got so far this season. You know, the world-renowned city of love, Houston, into Canada's paradise, Toronto. I really just do not understand this. You know, if you're coming to Canada, go to Whistler, go to Banff, go to Montreal, go to Quebec City. Why Toronto? It makes no sense to me. You know, it's just not a sexy city. Let's just put it at that. And just get us some better destinations. You know, we're finally moving around. Get us a beach, get us an ocean, get us somewhere romantic. You know, where's where are we going next? I believe that we are going overseas, which, you know, has some romance there, but these first two destinations, they are not doing it for me. What was doing it for me though, Gabby's one-on-one. I am liking Gabby more and more. You know, 2 weeks ago, she was awesome on her group dates. You know, we finally got to see Gabby. She'd kind of been in the background, and all of a sudden she's in the foreground. And, you know, Gabby and Clayton seemed like they were actually enjoying themselves on this date. Compare this date to Serene's date, and it is vastly different. You know, to see them being playful with each other, even walking down the street. Gabby gives him that little push, and you could tell Clayton was loving it. Sharing those deep moments at dinner, and at the end of those moments, them leaning in for the kiss. That did not happen on Serene State. You know, the moments they were capitalized with connection, and that is so much more important from my perspective than what we saw on the first date. Gabby is definitely emerging as a much more serious contender in this whole thing. Very prominent in the promo at the end. You know, they can always do some editing mind tricks there to throw us off, but Gabby potentially Final Four and potentially part of the whole drama debacle at the end. Obviously, Gabby gets the rose, and like I said, all of a sudden she is in the picture in a big way. The group date, no Shanae, so that people can actually enjoy the date. And then we find out it's gonna be a roast, and I'm like, oh, if you're gonna have a date without Shanae, why do an activity where clearly everyone is going to talk about Shanae? Shanae's easily the most roastable person on the entire season, and these ladies are not going to miss a chance to drag Shanae through the mud, because that is where Shanae loves to live. Russell Peter, thank you so much for being someone who agrees with me that Jesse and Clayton look like the same damn person. I definitely got a smile on my face when that came out, so thank you very much, Mr. Peters. Marlena, she crushed the roast. She led off, by far the best. Like, wasn't even close. She absolutely slayed it. That's 2 group dates in a row where Marlena was the absolute star. Mara versus Sarah. Where did this come from? You're old, you're young. Sarah had like a string of like 10 shots to take at Mara, and it felt like they just kind of got progressively meaner and meaner and meaner. Not sure where that line is between funny and mean, but they both dropped it or crossed it, and it didn't quite seem like Clayton quite knew where that line was, because even I think Mara called Sarah something like a desperate bitch or something at the end, and Clayton was still cackling. He didn't read that the line had been crossed when clearly it had been. The night portion, really enjoyed Susie. Just a great strategy by her, to be honest. You know, have the thing making fun of Clayton for being a bench warmer, and then coming back and standing at the mic again and saying all the things she likes about Clayton. Thought this move was probably going to land her the rose until we got that little bit of one-on-one time with Rachel. And one key thing stands out here. Clayton said he was looking forward to seeing her, and you know, he's not said that to anyone else. So that moment sticks out to me as Rachel being the person that Clayton is most excited to see right now. That doesn't mean that she's gonna get the final rose, but I very much picture her being there at the end. Yeah, like I said, Rachel gets the rose, and then we're on to the Genevieve Shanae 2-on-1. So everybody get your ponchos out because we got a Bachelor cliffhanger. And then we chain that straight into the extreme drama promo that we've seen 100 times. I did appreciate that they at least took the shots of Genevieve further along in the season out of the drama promo. I was very much expecting the promo to start and us to just straight up see Genevieve. I think she's like storming into an elevator or something. I was expecting just to see that shot as part of the promo, like they did last week, where they were blatantly showing Shanae after this week's rose ceremony. Yeah, doesn't make any sense to me, but then again, we don't make the shows, so we don't have to say in what goes in the promos. That's it for this week. As always, thank you everybody so much for watching, and until next week, we will see you later.